here. We've got Kyogre Xerneas, but Groudon Lunala, and you know, Lunala is a really powerful Pokemon that has this crazy ability that prevents full damage from taking a full HP, and could be really good here versus Pokemon like Kyogre, Xerneas, even Gengar, although Gengar definitely threatens it with that Shadow Ball. It might be able to KO in one shot, depending on the Lunala spread here. As for the rest of Nate's team, he's got that Tapu Lele, Incineroar, Kayartana, and Nihilego, and these are all pretty good Pokemon to deal with this matchup, I think. Nihilego is definitely for that Incineroar, as well as the Xerneas, as well as being pretty bulky on the special side, so can take some hits from Gengar. Groudon over here will definitely be important for setting up that Sun. Of course, with Gothitelle, might be a really bad matchup there. Hard to keep the Sun up that way. And they're gonna queue up into the team preview, I think. Yeah, there they are. Okay, but I think Gengar will be really important in this matchup for Cedric. Outspeeds pretty much all of Nate's team, barring a Choice Scarf on one of those Pokemon. It does have to watch out for Groudon, but since Groudon's not a Fire type, I think Will-O-Wisp could really come in handy here to burn that Pokemon and stop its damage output from reaching insane levels with Precipice Blades. Nihilego, unsure what kind of Nihilego it is, but I assume it's kind of just the offensive, possibly Life Orb, maybe Sash set there. So it'll be interesting to see how these players play each other's matchups out. I'm not going to say I know what the matchup is for both these teams because I don't play the team myself, but I think that as experienced these players are, I think they're both 3-1 right now. They can definitely pull out and get into that top cut for the midseason showdown. So let's see what happens here. And you know, Nate, I think, was our 2017 senior national champion. I think that's correct. Yeah. So, or maybe, yeah, champion, right? Is that right? Or runner-up? Either way, he made finals that year. Okay. Indie local, so pretty good player, really nice fellow. You might have caught him playing some Mario Party earlier. And yeah, so Cedric's going to lock in here. I unfortunately don't know much about Cedric, but I do know that he's here with a sibling of his. Runner-up, okay. And now they're both going to get into it. Alright, so let's see what happens. Alright, Gengar and Incineroar for Cedric. Yeah, there's that Gengar, really important for the matchup, like I said. And Nate's going to go ahead and throw out Lunala and Tapu Lele. So, a pretty unfavorable matchup if I'm speaking bluntly here. Tapu Lele, if it's Scarf, could be good versus the Gengar, but Lunala is definitely not safe. Definitely wants to get out as soon as possible, or if it's bulky enough to take that Shadow Ball, maybe fire off some Moongeist or do some Tailwind. Something like that. But right now, it's not looking like it's in a great position to really do a whole lot. Gengar here, sitting pretty. Being a grounded Pokemon now is benefiting from the Psychic Terrain, but I mean, it's not really helping it dodge any fake outs or anything soon. Here is Groudon, so Groudon's going to come in and set the Sun. I'm not sure if that's really what Nate wants at this point in time, but maybe he trusts his Lunala to take the Shadow Ball. Well, actually, it's going to be Tailwind Lunala, so Tailwind going out, and Gengar moving after the Lunala, so very surprising here. Perhaps it's a modest one, and it's going to pick up a clean knockout with that Shadow Ball. Critical hit. Not sure if it mattered. If it's modest, definitely did not, as knockoff into Nate's Groudon knocks off that Choice Band. So there goes some of that damage output that Nate was really looking to take advantage of the Tailwind with. Nihilego coming in, so Nihilego is going to come in, threaten some damage on both of Cedric's Pokemon here, and any of his potential switch-ins. Precipice Blades looking like a really good option here, and since he's no longer got that Choice Band on, even if Chris Brody procs, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Still stay in and take advantage of his Tailwind turns using a different move like Stomping Tantrum, which is another popular choice for Choice Band Groudon. course, just got to be careful with Gothitail switching in and locking you in. That's always a devastating combination here. Incineroar is going to switch out, doesn't want to take the Precipice Blades. Here is Colgate, the Xerneas. Alright, and he's got some Fairy Aura coming along with it. The Tooth Fairy visits you, I suppose, every once in a while. And Protect from Gengar, make sure it doesn't get hit by this Precipice Blades. Grass Knot going to hit into that Xerneas. Pretty good move. That since that used to be an Incineroar, lots of damage there. And Precipice Blades gonna come out for Nate's Groudon. Connects with Xerneas and does quite a bit. And you know, puts it in range of another attack from Nihilego or another Precipice Blades even. So really good trade on that turn for Nate. Maybe knowing that if, you know, Cedric switches into maybe Kyogre or Xerneas, that Grass Knot would do a lot of damage, and it's a fair assumption that Cedric led with both of his non-restricted Pokemon, and, you know, probably has 2 restricted Pokemon in the back, so I would say Grass Knot, a pretty good call there, as Incineroar is going to come back in for Cedric. Going to get that Intimidate, very important, but at this point in time, Precipice is still going to take out that Xerneas after the turn ends, if it doesn't protect itself. As it does protect, so we're going to see it stick around for another turn here, but more turns of Tailwind left. Sludge Bomb into the Incineroar slot, so this is going to be a lot of damage. No poison though, so this could be good for Nate if he picks up this KO, and it looks like he does, so there goes the Incineroar. Precipice Blades goes down and takes the KO on Incineroar. So Cedric's got one more turn of Tailwind to blow, and you know, he's got that Scarf Kyogre in the back, so there's always an option for that to come in and start wreaking some havoc. But, you know, gotta wait out that Tailwind first. Alright, don't get too ahead of yourself. Gengar gonna come back in. Has that Protect option. Can definitely protect out the last turn of Tailwind here and get the speed advantage back. But, you know, gotta watch out here. Nihilego could be packing Trick Room, though with the moves it just showed, I'm not sure it has enough space for that move. You know, Grass Knot, Sludge Bomb usually carries Power Gem, and maybe it has Trick Room if it has no Protect. But I would assume it has Protect. So this is going to just be a Power Gem. Alright, just a Power Gem into the Gengar slot, breaking Sash, doing so much damage, and Precipice Blades going to come out, connects with both Pokemon, so this could be the game, depending on whether Cedric's Kyogre can really come in and do damage. Precipice Blades is going to get the same, but like I said, Curse Body is not going to affect Pokemon who's not Choice Locked anymore. Although it does mean Cedric gets that free switch into Kyogre, assumingly. And, you know, in the back is Tapu Lele. He really doesn't want to be taking that damage. So, pretty hard to say who's actually going to win this one out in the end. You can definitely set the Sun back up if you are Nate, and that would be really good for your Nihilego, who, you know, especially bulky in the sun, might take that Water Spout really well. So I would say that switching Groudon back out into Tapu Lele for the free switch back into Groudon to reset the weather is the play to make, and I think that's what he's doing right here. Tapu Lele got to come back in, of course. Nihilego just going to protect itself there, yep. So no Trick Room, I think, on that set. He just showed all 4 of his moves. Water Spout going to come out big and stout. It's going to knock out the Lele cleanly, so no Focus Sash there. Maybe a Choice Scarf said, maybe a Twisted Spoon said, or something like that. And here comes the Groudon to reset that weather, and you know, it is full health Kyogre, but Groudon I think is at a comfortable enough HP number that, you know, Water Spout won't KO it or do enough damage or whatever, and can get off a free attack here. Probably a Stomping Tantrum so you don't miss. I don't think there's much of a reason to go for Power Gem. If you hurt the Kyogre enough, you don't take any damage from Water Spout, so that, I think Nate has sealed up the game here, barring any crits. Water Spout going to come out, does a lot of damage, not enough to KO Nihilego here. Grass Knot coming out to hit that Kyogre, doing massive damage, yeah, massive. So, and Stomping Tantrum going to come out, seal the deal. Rah, 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 he mad. Alright, so going to move on to game 2. Cedric, you know, maybe if he had protected Gengar that last turn of Tailwind, maybe he just forgot it was Tailwind up. But that last turn of Tailwind, if he protected the Gengar, he might have had that in the bag, since you can have more Pokemon kind of to do damage with, and you know, well, at the same time, there's not really much way to stop Nihilego from also staying in, protecting, getting Groudon back in, and then threatening, well, both Pokemon. But I suppose with Gengar Sash Attack, you could have had more power in that matchup. So, will be a little bit more interesting to see how well Cedric protects his Gengar this time around, as it was pretty important, I think, in the matchup after Tailwind fell off. But Xerneas didn't end up doing a whole lot. I think it just took hits and fainted, so maybe you protect that a little better too. That's one of your main outs. But Nihilego, pretty oppressive Pokemon in this matchup, as it turns out. In Sun, it doesn't take too kindly to Water Spout at full, but it takes it well enough to get off a Grass Knot and then nerf that power. So Nate already locked in, ready to go. Always cool to see his strategies working. Tailwind Lunala outspeeding Gengar, really surprising there. So I definitely have to assume that it's not timid Gengar, which might be okay in some contexts. I think it is faster than Tapu Lele, so that is a decent Pokemon to be running right now. But I think timid is definitely the way to go. That speed is just way too important to give up. Alright, and Game 2 starts here right now. Gengar Incineroar for Cedric again, so leading the same Pokemon here. Doesn't think he did anything wrong in the first game, just wants to make sure the strategy goes off without a hitch this time. As Nate leads the same thing as well, Tapu Lele, Lunala. So now that he knows that Lunala is actually faster than Gengar, he might try to do like a double up into it or something like that, but you mean risk getting knocked off by the Incineroar and then getting a free switch to Kyogre. Never a good thing, so really tough to see what Nate's going to do this turn. Alright, Psyshock from Tapu Lele going to come out into the Gengar, so just going to break that sash here and do quite a bit of damage while it's doing so. It is not going to get the Curse Body, and Moongeist Beam going to come out and just snipe that Gengar down and into the ground. So this doesn't let Cedric get a free switch, like I said, and it also lets Incineroar get an attack off. Probably the knockoff into Lunala or Tapu Lele. It's going to be that Lunala. It's going to do a lot of damage, knocking off this Spooky Blade. Ooh. And in comes probably Kyogre. I would say Kyogre. Let's just stick with Kyogre. Alright, Kyogre hits the field. It is threatening that full HP Water Spout, but of course, Nate could always just switch to Groudon and get that weather advantage again, and that's a very devastating weather advantage since, you know, I'm pretty sure Tapu Lele can take one of those hits, and Psyshock is going to do a big number on Kyogre. So maybe Cedric should play a little bit safer and just double out with the Kyogre. Just force the switch and get some more momentum with your Incineroar. And Wide Guard Lunala coming out. One of the most niche moves that Lunala gets, and it's a good one. Tapu Lele does reveal it. It is Choice Scarf. It is faster than Kyogre. Here's the Psyshock into Kyogre, doing a lot of damage, but Scald instead. So making sure Water Spout is not the move to click there. Making sure Lunala doesn't block the Water Spout. Good play on Cedric's part, but it does mean Nate gets a free switch into presumably the Groudon, and that's not good news for Cedric. Not intimidated Groudon. Probably going to pick up that knockout on Incineroar if it gets to hit. And, you know, it's pretty hard because Kyogre can't really protect either, so that's going to have to switch if he wants to get the weather back up. And Kyogre doesn't have many safe switches as Groudon. And that's the beauty of Ground in any format you play. It's a very good offensive typing. Not many resists out there, and the resists that do exist typically tend to be weak to other things that Groudon's paired with, or any ground type is paired with. So this is looking pretty stressful for Cedric here. You're going to call that guy Kyogre, going to throw out a Mungus. So out of all the Pokemon you could have chose to take the Precious Blades, this is probably one of the better ones. Magic Room going to come in to play. So Nate getting knocked off, actually kind of helping it with the matchup here, as Precious Blade's going to come in, not do a whole lot, mostly because the Magic Room kind of eliminates the effect of that Choice Band giving the attack boost, and Flare Blitz going to take out Tapu Lele. Now, not KOing Amoonguss or Incineroar actually lets Nate keep his Groudon in and throw in whatever other Pokemon he has, but more importantly, this allows Nihilego to outspeed Kyogre when it comes in before Magic Room falls off. If Magic Room falls off before Kyogre comes in, Cedric's got this down. But with Magic Room lasting the same length as Trick Room, that's not likely to happen, considering Incineroar also can't really protect. So, barring a number of Precipice Blades misses, or like maybe Nihilego attacking his own party member, this is looking pretty over. Sludge Bomb gonna go into Incineroar, gonna make sure it doesn't miss this next move. It does miss on Amoonguss, so that was important. Something is gonna go to sleep this turn, and I think it's gonna have to be that Nihilego. And here's the Spore. Where's it going? Into that Nihilego it is. So now it's down to basically whether this Groudon outspeeds Kyogre without a Scarf. And I think in order to do that, it's going to have to be max or near max speed. And I'm not sure that's really what the spread is doing. And here's Kyogre one more time. I don't think it's going to lock into Water Spout. Probably going to click that Scald button here and hope for the best. Of course, if you are running Scald, it means you're going to have to take a couple more turns to pick up your knockouts. With Amoonguss on the field to provide support, though, this is looking pretty good for Cedric. That miss was very crucial, and if it had not happened, then I think Nate would have taken the game quite easily. So Rage Powder going to come out here, make sure that Kyogre doesn't get targeted by Nihilego should it get a 0-turn wake for some reason. And Kyogre is going to end up being faster, so here's that Scald in the rain. It's going to go ahead and pick up the clean knockout on Groudon. That's pretty unfortunate for Nate. He's still not out of it if Nihilego can somehow live the Scald, but I don't think that will happen either. So, pretty unfortunate. Maybe you would have liked to see the Sludge Bomb go into the Amoonguss slot instead, or maybe go for the Power Gem and Fire Punch. These kinds of things are maybe like little detailed things that might be more optimal. It looks like Nihilego is going to wake up, going to get that Sludge Bomb off. Let's see how much damage it does. Not quite, so yeah, it looks like this is going to be end for the Nate. It's going to go to game 3. Alright, so I saw some cool strategies from both sides, but it ended up being actually pretty detrimental to Nate's end. He was able to get the Magic Room off, but then wasn't able to really take advantage of it because his Pokemon got put to sleep. So maybe the misses on Groudon might have to give them a stern talking to once again. And I think that's might be like, we're getting close to double digits on Precipice Blade misses on stream today, so, these moves are very risky, but they're kind of necessary to be able to pull out games. I mean, a spread move that doesn't hit your partner when usually the normal move you'd be using is Earthquake. This is a very important niche that Groudon holds over pretty much every other ground type other than like Zygarde. And Zygarde has some very glaring drawbacks that prevent it from being that popular compared to something like Groudon. So Nate is locked in here, and he's ready to go. I think he knows what he's playing to, and that was a pretty rare occurrence. 2 misses in 2 turns with specific missing on certain mons being more important than others. So hopefully he's just hoping it doesn't happen again, and maybe he'll just deal with Gengar a little differently this time. So, alright, they're going to go right into it swinging. Okay, so game 3 of round 5 of Swiss, and this is to determine who goes to cut and who maybe has to play resistance game for cut. And we're going to see the same lead from Cedric one more time, Gengar and Incineroar, and same lead from Nate as well, Lele Lunala, but this time he switched the places. Ooh, spooky. Alright, so Psychic Surge going to come out here, and Intimidate also going to drop some of those attack stats. Not that it matters too much, but, Now, an interesting move to do here would probably be to double up into Gengar, like I said before, but you could also just, Magic Room right now, Save yourself the trouble of doing it later, and then pick off Gengar with Lunala, knowing that it's faster and can take the knockoff from Incineroar. So, pretty interesting turn. We'll see how these things go. Lele's actually going to switch out, so pretty interesting call here. Groudon's just going to come in. I think it's going to be the same play he did game 1, where he Tailwinds with Lunala, affords it to go down. Groudon gets in, starts throwing P-Blaze around, and Tailwind is going to come out here. So, Groudon in Tailwind here, with the Choice Band still on. Shadow Ball going to come out, connect with the Lunala. It is not enough to KO, so let's see if this knockoff goes into the Groudon slot, and it does not. So Lunala is also going to get KO'd by that, but more importantly, Groudon got to keep its Choice Band on. So this is really important. He can do some big damage no matter what Cedric does this turn. And even better is he can get rid of the Sash with Tapu Lele or any other Pokemon he chooses to throw in. And do that damage that way. And he's got 3 turns Tailwind to take advantage of. This is a Choice Banded Groudon in front of what is Cedric's only Intimidator is at Incineroar. So this could be really bad for Cedric. He's going to have to lose some momentum here to try and get it back later. And it's pretty hard to do when you're sitting in front of a non-boosted, non-intimidated Groudon with a Choice Band. So best of luck to him, and hopefully that P-Blade's miss counter doesn't go up for Nate. But let's just see what happens. Incineroar going to come back, going to save that Intimidate for later. Here's Amoonguss, and we'll see how well it takes that move. Psyshock going to come in for the Amoonguss switch in, so really interesting. It's just going to pick up that one-hit knockout, so really hard read on Nate's end here. I mean, another P-Blades miss, but I'm not sure that really mattered too much. Sludge Bomb is going to get that easy knockout on Tapu Lele, of course. So, hard read on Nate's side, and a miss on P-Blades, Precipice Blades. So that's another miss. Chalk one up for the counter, but at the same time, you didn't have the opportunity to get Curse Bodied. So, that's good. That's positive. So, here's his last Pokemon, Kartana. Pretty interesting last Pokemon. I would have liked to see Nihilego one more time, but, you know, sometimes you just got to make the changes. And no Magic Room means that this is going to be the last few turns of Tailwind before, you know, Kyogre comes in and starts wrecking face. Kartana does offer some sort of pressure. I would probably not choose the Leaf Blade, the Gengar, since that's kind of your win condition here. Maybe go for the knockoff or Smart Strike if you have it. Of course, Kartana also could carry Tailwind, so it could be a second Tailwind setter for you. But either way, Groudon's threatening both these Pokemon with Precipice Blades, and with Choice Band on, I'm pretty sure Incineroar is not safe either. Probably going to get knocked out. Couple more turns of Tailwind here, and Sacred Sword into Incineroar, so very interesting. Maybe not fully invested on the Precipice Blades here, as it goes ahead and targets both, connects with both this time, and knocks out Incineroar. So, Incineroar is gone, Sash is procced, Cursed Body is not, so this Groudon is ready to do another Precipice Blades down the line, and, you know, I think there's still one more turn of Tailwind here, so Kyogre's going to have to come in with Tailwind up on Nate's side, and that's going to be real big trouble if, you know, Nate can hit his moves. If he hits his moves, I'm sure he takes the game. Leaf Blade could also get a critical hit, and if it does that, I think Nate also wins the game. So Nate's got a couple of good outs. He played pretty well, kept his Tailwind turns to the max here, made some good read. And Gengar here did some work, but honestly, being at 1 HP, not fucking Cursed Body, he needed to do that in order to stop Precipice Blades from going off. This is looking strong, so Precipice Blades is going to connect with both Pokemon. Nate is going to take this set. Wow, he missed so many moves, but you know, Groudon, he just kept trucking, so congrats to Nate. He's moving on to Cut for sure. Of course, Cedric, not out of it yet. He has to contend with Resistance and other X2 records for Cut. And we will see you with the standings. We may have another commentator or a different commentator joining for Cut. So stay tuned on that.